Hey, man.
Hey, what's up, man?
We're back again.
Back again.
This is second in a series so far,
Second
right?
in a series of an unknown number of episodes.
And what are we calling it?
The Making of Gen X.
I love it. I love it. Last time we covered our portion of the 60s. So
Right.
started in 65, went through 69, and today we're going to start the 1970s.
Yeah.
So it's our decade.
Probably
man.
won't get through the whole 70s, but we'll get through some of them.
We'll see. How
I
many,
see you're sporting a Quicksilver shirt.
I am. I see you're sporting a Quicksilver shirt.
I am. I think,
It's a,
except for maybe one maybe one or two episodes, I've had a Quicksilver shirt on every time.
I was confirming, established in 1969, so it's a Gen X company.
Hey.
Makes a lot of sense, right?
Probably not established by Gen Xers because
Probably not.
they were only 4.
Probably, I'm sure we have a boomer to thank for that.
Yes.
But you know, they did some good stuff too.
Yeah, they marketed it to us.
Yeah.
We bought it.
It's good stuff. No, I'm excited today to.
All right, 1970.
to start the
I'm doing
70s.
even years, so
Well, this is our intro, so you guys.
this is our intro. That's right. Hell yeah.
You gotta hold
Yeah.
off just a couple
I
minutes.
do
I know you're
have to hold
excited.
off. Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do this.
So,
because we're born.
So it's been a few more days in between the last time we were together with everybody. So quick look at our science project here of our powdered donuts.
There's a couple here on top that are just almost all the way green.
It's going to be
Like I said before, I think it's going to turn into some kind of soup.
like a mush.
Right.
I
And
can
if it
see
starts
that.
to smell, there's actually plastic, like a plastic wrap.
Okay.
Can you see that? Like,
So maybe it's bound enough to
so
keep
maybe
that
it's
out.
at least, it's obviously not airtight.
We'll have
'cause-
to do
'cause look at these.
before we get rid of it, we'll have to do an open test and see. Maybe do that outside though.
Oh yeah, we'll have to video
Just
that
to
outside.
see. Have you seen that video, the gag test with the canned fish from like Norway or someplace like that?
No.
Look it up. It's
Okay.
It's pretty funny. I like gagging. Makes me laugh anyway. If people just uncontrollably start gagging,
Like that one girl that when she says the word styrofoam, she goes start.
Specific sounds that bother them. For me, it's styrofoam.
it's so funny. I have.
Yep.
I'm not gonna call him out, but he knows who he is. I have a very close family member that has a gag reflex, and to be fair, sometimes all it takes is the thought, like a word. I'll do it on purpose.
Nice.
Just
What's the word?
to see him gag. Anything.
Casey's watching.
Anything to do with poop. Yeah, it's like, and he has children.
So if you're changing a
Oh,
green
yeah. Oh, yeah.
diaper, it's over.
and he may not even do that, but I don't
Oh.
know if he could because then it just gets worse. But
Right. It's like a barfarama.
I've been next to him watching a movie, and it was something really simple. It was like Men at Work, right?
Right.
The Charlie Sheen,
Yeah.
Emilio Estevez movie. And somewhere along through there, they're garbage men in that movie, and there's like some funky, liquidy, garbagey stuff that comes out, and all of a sudden I hear, no, it's like, you're ridiculous.
That's
man.
great. All right.
That's
Let's
awesome.
get into this. All right. Let's hit the
you
intro.
guys,
Here we go.
welcome. Hey, man.
All right. Let's do this.
Starting off with the 1970s. In our intro, we typically look at our science project here. One thing I did want to say and remind people is we haven't gotten to that story yet.
No.
So
As to why we have these white
So
powdered donuts here.
I mean, it's a great buildup, right? It is. These have been with us since the beginning.
Since the beginning.
And I can't tell you when that story is going to come up,
Don't have any idea.
but it will
I'm resisting the urge to just like jump there when we start driving
yeah.
because
because it's really it's great.
it's a great story.
And
It took us a while to figure it out, but
it did, but it's become I mean, it's
And it was only by chance
it's
that we figured
part
it
of
out.
history now.
All right,
It's legendary.
We're talking in
But,
code again. All right.
We are. All right. So,
All right, starting in 1970, not a whole lot on the 70 radar. But, you know, I think in our last episode, the one that didn't record,
right.
you know, we talked about the Mustang and the Camaro coming out, and
Mhm.
you had asked me on the one that didn't record if I, you know,
Are you Mustang or
Mustang
you
or Camaro?
Yeah.
and my answer was it depends on the year.
Okay.
Because if you're talking like 66 Mustang, that's
it.
That's a great car. 1970 Mach 1 Mustang, great car on my dream car list. But then there's the 69 Camaro, which is an iconic, muscle car, pony car. So anyway, 1970, maybe think of the Mach 1. So here we go. April 1st of 1970, the U.S. Census counted for the first time in U.S. history over 200 million people in the U.S.
Oh.
So we mentioned last time about 51 million people watching
Watch the first Super Bowl.
first Super Bowl, which was several years prior, 67. So
Okay. So
first
that was
time-
about a quarter of the about a quarter of the
about
population.
a quarter of
at
the
that time.
population based on the 200 million. So
Be
there may have been a
interesting.
little bit less at the time.
I wonder the most recent one here in 2025. I wonder what the percentage of
I don't know. I'm sure we can find that out.
population is, but that'd be interesting. 200 million
Yep.
people. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And then in April, also in April, the 22nd, the first Earth Day was observed.
Oh, Earth Day.
I can remember Earth Day as a elementary school kid. We planted some trees for Earth
Yeah,
Day.
I've done a couple of things over the years, but school.
Yeah.
I know there's been a couple where we've done the shut the power off
Right.
for an hour kind
Right.
of thing. That was kind of cool. But yeah,
My kids have
1970.
brought home little saplings,
Mhm.
little seedling type tree things for Earth Day
Okay.
from elementary
Like
school.
in the styrofoam cup, like what?
No, it was actually in some kind of plastic baggie that just had a little bit of mud, just
Okay.
wet dirt.
Okay. Because did you ever do that in
I
school
did-
where
I
you
did
grew
do the
it in the
styrofoam cup,
styrofoam cup
yep.
and it actually, you get it 3 or 4 inches and then
and then
guess
watch
we
it
take
die.
it home or
Yeah,
know.
that
Yeah.
never made it at my house, at least. And then the last thing I have for 1970 was May 4th, just another tragedy during the Vietnam protest era. 4 students from Kent State were killed, Kent State University, and 9 wounded by National Guardsmen when they opened fire into a Vietnam War protest that
Oh,
was
wow.
happening at Kent State.
I remember hearing people talk
and
about
I remember
that.
hearing people talk about that too.
Yeah, that's and I would imagine by this point some of our oldest Gen Xers who were born in '65
Would remember that, for sure.
would definitely remember that. So
Yeah.
that's a scary time.
Right.
Anything else from 1970? You're right.
That's
that
all
was
I got from
kinda-
the 70s. Is pretty
light.
short.
Yeah, 1971. I'll pick up from there. Coming right out of the gate, January 2nd, there was the ban on cigarette ads on TV went into effect. And when I first read that, I was like, I have no idea. I totally thought that happened maybe in like the 80s or 90s.
Yeah,
but-
so there were still cigarette ads that could be in magazines because I remember some of the car magazines and stuff like that I would
Mhm.
get in the 80s still had the Marlboro Man
yeah.
in there. But as far as TV ads go, yeah, 71, they
Wow.
banned cigarette ads on television.
I wonder if when that happened, they increased like print ads.
Print publication and
Yeah,
billboards and stuff like
yeah,
that.
and I was gonna say and billboards because I really do feel like I feel like I was advertised cigarettes most
Yeah.
of my childhood.
Right.
And for it not to be on TV, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
March 2nd of 1971, the voting age was lowered from 21 to 18.
March 10th,
What did I say?
2nd.
Okay. I mean,
We want to be historically accurate.
okay. March of 1971. So the voting age lowered from 21 to 18. I don't know if I ever knew that it was 21.
I don't think I knew that either.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I guess 18 you're legal adult, so should be able to
Yeah.
vote.
Well, that opens up a whole other can of worms on things you can't do till you're
18
21.
or 20.
Yeah, so well, I don't know. September 17th of that year, the microprocessor chip introduced by Texas Instruments. Remember those calculators?
The TI calculators.
Oh my gosh,
Yes.
dude! If you had one of those in I guess in later years, like in school, you were a wizard
Oh,
because I didn't know how to use those. They had
No.
all those different. I mean,
buttons and shift and different colors,
Yeah,
and this button could do 3 different things.
that was
high tech.
it was like just high tech, but just completely foreign to me. I mean, it might as well been foreign language.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, I know this 1 through 9 and 0. All the other stuff, I don't know.
Right, but that's just.
But if
cool.
you had one, you were still cool.
Yeah, the microprocessor invented by Texas Instruments. So
Wow.
figuring out how to make stuff smaller. And it still wasn't small by today's standards.
No, not at all. That's
But
insanity. October 1st of 1971,
Ooh.
Walt Disney World opened in Orlando, Florida. I also thought that happened before. I thought that was more of a, in my mind, like a 60s
thing, yeah.
But
No.
I know there's also Disneyland, so maybe that, I don't know when that opened. So maybe
Yeah, that opened. Gosh, I don't know why 58 sticks in is just popped in my head, and I may be totally wrong.
And again, I know Walt Disney was doing animation and things
Long
before,
before, yeah.
that opened, so it could be confusing that too. But that's an interesting dude. There's lots of good conspiracies and stuff around him as
Yep.
well. So that's
And you lived in Orlando or right outside Orlando.
a couple
in
times,
Kissimmee,
yeah,
a couple times. So
used to. I think we had a couple of New Year's that we celebrated together there
Yes.
with our families, and
Yes.
the watching the fireworks from the multiple parks.
yeah,
On
'cause
New
you could
Year's
see 'em,
Eve,
yeah.
kind of a free show there, which is awesome. But yeah, so that's wrapping up 1971. That's not a bad way to wrap it up with the
No.
happiest place on earth.
Yeah. All right, 72, near and dear to my heart. March of 72, the movie The Godfather was released. So now I don't put every movie that was released because that would be an exhaustive list, but some that were very iconic I have put in here. And I didn't realize that The Godfather was that old. I would have put it a late 70s movie as opposed to an
Yeah.
early 70s.
But I do
movie.
recall, I recall seeing it in the 70s as a really small child. And
Wow.
being completely terrified.
That was
I
You
don't
should
think it
not
was
have-
on purpose.
should not have done
No, not at all. But yeah, I mean, dude, that was awful.
well, hey,
I mean, I made it.
yeah, you made it.
It's like,
All right, May 22nd, Nixon visits the Soviet Union and agrees to sell U.S. wheat to the USSR.
it's a big deal during the Cold War.
That was a big deal during the Cold War too. Our biggest rival, our enemy essentially during the Cold War. Hey, yeah, we're going to keep you from starving by selling you wheat. That's a big deal. And then June 17th kind of started the downward spiral of
Mr. Nixon.
Mr. Nixon. News June 17th, the Watergate scandal broke. I don't want to get into all the intricacies of what the Watergate scandal was, but essentially spying on election and election proceedings or strategy, stuff like that. So probably wasn't the first time that something like that happened, but
What?
they just got caught.
What do you mean?
It's just kind of what people do. But yeah, so in spite of that, November 7th, Nixon got reelected.
Bring him back.
Now, in between the Watergate scandal breaking and Nixon getting reelected, I was born.
Welcome.
So I showed up somewhere right around in here. And then November 8th, I thought this was interesting. HBO, the TV channel, becomes the first pay for TV channel in the U.S. Up until then, it was just you had antennas and you got you got TV
Yeah.
for free.
I would have thought that didn't happen until like 82.
Right.
I mean, that surprised me. I didn't know HBO
Right.
had been around that long.
HBO has been around
I wanna
since
know-
72.
Who had cable in the 70s? Because I never met that person.
No.
Probably the same
I got-
people that had the internet. The
I
government.
got cable. We got cable as a family in 81.
Okay.
Now,
That's-
there were people that had those, those huge satellite dishes that they had in.
Yes, I
So
do
there
remember
were people
those.
that had satellite TV. But I mean, do you just start a pay for TV channel and then hey, how do you
Hopefully.
advertise that?
And see,
You
I
advertise
would,
it on free TV?
I would put satellite TV in the 80s as well.
I would have too, but
So-
I don't know. All I know is that HBO became the first pay for TV channel in the U.S. at the end of 72, towards the end of 72. So,
Wow.
all right, 73.
73, another good year. And I get to come first because I am before.
You were before the first one.
Anything on here.
Yeah.
So as the 8th of that year came around, so did I. And then a few weeks later, a huge piece of legislation, Roe versus Wade, was adopted. And, I mean, God, man, you're talking about something that's got a lot of history to it.
That's something that's got a lot of division. I
yeah.
mean, that's one thing that you can mention and people just pounce on it
Yeah.
one way or the other.
That's,
And that is not the purpose of our show today. It is just to
No.
say that is when it was passed.
And that's how, I mean, you think of how prominent that still is in conversations and
Yes.
debates and disagreements and everything, even today. I mean, 50 plus years later. It's just, it's amazing how long.
73.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I realized that was that old.
Yeah. No, it's June 9th of that year, Secretariat won the Triple Crown, which hadn't been done since 1948 and won by 31 lengths.
That is unheard of.
That's ridiculous. But
31
also,
horse lengths.
I thought Secretariat was a horse from like the 90s.
Right.
And maybe there was another one, but I had no idea that that's the era I've heard that name before.
Oh yeah, yeah, sure.
But I didn't know how that was that old. But yeah, 31 lengths.
I mean, it's not like, most of the time somebody wins by like a head or like half a length or something like that. But to
What
win,
happened to the other horses?
I don't know. I don't know if that just seems like an unbelievable distance
You
to
gonna
put
tell
between.
me there was no performance enhancing stuff going on with that horse? I mean,
I was barely around.
I don't recall.
I do not recall.
October 19th of that year, the oil embargo to the U.S. Began. All Arab-controlled oil-producing nations were banned from selling oil to the U.S., and it led to a crisis, which I think we kind of roll into over the next few years.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah.
And that
it's
changed the way that
crazy.
we produce cars. Because almost immediately, the government doesn't always react quickly. Yeah, take a drink on that one. But in this case, they responded pretty quickly with new fuel economy standards and things like that for vehicles
to help fuel efficiency.
to help
right?
fuel efficiency.
Okay.
Which essentially, you're not really going to find much in the way of a muscle car after 73 or 4.
Oh, I was going to say, how do you know this? Other than, again, I think I don't know if it was on the one we sat through and didn't record, but I'm really grateful that one of us is a teacher and can have these tidbits of random information. But you're also a car guy, so I don't know which is driving this.
That's probably more the car guy.
Okay,
Because,
gotcha.
you look at these 78 Trans-Ams like from Smokey and the Bandit and stuff like that are like really cool. They had, I think they came with like 180 horsepower from the factory, which is
Yeah, so you had to work on them.
yeah. You had to aftermarket modify to soup them up.
Which people
But-
did.
No, nobody violated government fuel economy standards. Just like nobody deletes their diesel truck anymore.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, that's 73.
All right, let's
So,
hit 74.
go
So
for
74, right at the beginning, January 2nd. Oh, look, to combat oil crisis, federal government lowers the speed limit. So not only did they make new fuel economy standards, they lowered the speed limit to 55 on all U.S. interstates and highways.
What was it before?
70,
Okay.
what it is now.
Okay. So we came back to it.
So, and that remained in effect from 74 to 1995.
That explains why so many vacations growing up took forever. To get to.
Yeah. You know, and then there was the whole Sammy Hagar, I can't drive 55. You know,
That's, I mean,
much later, but
that's adds about a third more
yeah.
time.
Can
I
you
think.
imagine driving down the interstate, which we did? Well, we were supposed to,
I
as
can't drive down a side street at 55
As
most of the
teenagers.
time. It's
but going on these road trips and stuff, 55 just, and the little grooves in the asphalt. Gosh, I remember sleeping in the back seat of the car because you didn't have to wear a seatbelt.
oh, but you get that rhythm going. It kind of becomes.
Oh,
you
it just
know,
put you
it's
right
like,
out.
Yeah, this is it.
We're gonna be here a while.
Because the thing is, the
I'm
moment
going
it
55.
stopped, the moment it would stop, you're like, what
Whoa,
happened?
what? Or the rhythm slowed down because you're
Yeah,
getting off at an
on
exit.
an exit.
Do,
Yeah.
do, do,
Yeah.
do,
And everybody
do.
would wake up.
Hey,
Put
hey,
your
hey.
shoes on. We're getting out. It's
Right,
like, all
right. But my kids still do that now when we're going
they really?
camping or something like that. So we're in the diesel truck and, you know, and then the RPM's lower because we're getting off
Yeah.
and they're like,
That's awesome.
So, yeah. So that was to combat the oil crisis. So not only did they lower the fuel economy standards, but they lowered the speed limit, which I'm sure a lot of people resisted. May 7th of that year in 74, impeachment hearings against Nixon started due to his role in the Watergate scandal. So, you know, that's I told you
Which-
that was kind of the...
And then
And then August 9th, Nixon resigns from office. And I remember seeing videos of him. You know, I resign office of the presidency.
Therefore, I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
And he was replaced with Vice President Gerald Ford. And Ford, conveniently, pardons Nixon for his role in the Watergate scandal. Nixon was the first sitting president to ever resign the office.
Yeah.
Happened while we were both alive.
It was very I know the photos are iconic of him getting on the helicopter to leave
Yeah.
and
that was it.
everything. I don't remember anything about it, but I do recall, you know, especially again as anniversaries of things came around,
Yeah.
you always saw that same kind of set of photos and the speech of their.
Well, and you heard
resignation.
people talk about it.
Oh
you know,
yeah,
it's like,
definitely. Wow.
all right, 75.
75. Early on, January 6, 1975, Wheel of Fortune premiered.
I didn't realize it was that old.
I did not either.
I don't think Pat Sajak was the...
I don't think he was the original host.
I don't think he was.
I think he came along maybe as we were
I
like in
feel
our
like
teens
I
or
heard he
something.
was a news personality here in Nashville.
Really?
I
I did not know
think
that.
I heard that.
We need
I
a
could be-
fact checker.
I could be way wrong.
We're hiring. I mean, well, hiring's a strong word.
Right.
It's more like a volunteer opportunity, I think.
Right. If you want to be a producer
yeah.
/ fact checker person and want to make sure that we don't accidentally not record an episode,
Yeah,
hey,
that would be great.
we're
Um,
I have rigged up a full-length mirror behind the telephone, behind my phone because it's recording on the phone, so that we can kind of see like, oh yeah, it is recording. I don't know if that's going to help, but at least gives us something.
gets us there.
That's kind of weird because we can see ourselves.
I can only see you. I can't see me.
Oh, I could see
So,
a sliver of me
Yeah.
and then you. So, all right.
so yeah.
Wheel of Fortune.
Do you like Wheel of Fortune?
Um.
There's been times in my life where no lie, I've watched it. I enjoy
Oh
it.
yeah.
I mean,
And every now and then I'll catch one and be like, oh yeah, and try to solve the puzzle and stuff like that.
As a young adolescent, I won't lie and say that sometimes it wasn't just to watch Vanna White. I mean,
Of course, it was to watch
my
Vanna White.
gosh.
Like
Yeah. Now, was she the first hostess? Has she been there since 1975?
I surely not, unless she started when she was like 14. I don't know.
I don't know how old she is.
I don't have any idea
I
how
know-
old she is, but
I don't feel like she's like that much older.
I mean, she would have had, if she started at 18,
Okay.
and this is in 75.
So that'd be 57. So she'd be like 70. Okay, that's
I mean,
All right.
maybe. I don't know.
all right. Well, so that's January of 75. In March 30th, Jimmy Carter announces that he's going to run for president.
The governor of Georgia,
Peanut farmer
peanut farmer.
who recently passed away
Yes.
at 100 years old, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
I heard that he was the oldest or the longest living longest living president, ex-president, which is just, still from that.
And whether you agree with his
That
policies or not, he was kind of just an all-around like nice guy.
Yeah, I've always heard that. Just giving.
You may
giving
not
guy,
agree
nice
with his
guy,
politics,
yeah.
but he was just, generally speaking, he was just a nice guy.
Yeah. So yeah, March 30th of that year, he decided to run. And then April 29th and 30th, communist forces take over South Vietnam and force the evacuation of remaining U.S. civilians from Saigon. So I guess that would be the fall of Saigon.
That would be the fall of Saigon, and that's the where you get the people that are evacuating Saigon into the helicopters.
the top of the building.
Top of the
Yeah.
building, yes.
Have you ever seen the footage of those helicopters landing on the Navy ships out at sea?
No, I don't know that I have.
So, there were so many of them. The helicopters would land, they would unload, and then they basically would just chuck the helicopter over the side into the ocean for the next one to come in and land, because the pilots were evacuating as well, and they didn't have anywhere else to take these aircraft. So they would just land, unload everybody that got on board, and then basically the crew, after the aircraft shut down, would just pitch it right over the side.
Wow.
I don't know if it was one of the last ones, but one of the last helicopters out, or that's how it's maybe portrayed in the documentary I saw, is a Chinook. So that's one of the double propellers.
Right.
Can't land that bad boy on a ship.
Then you just land one end on it. And
So he gets everyone off, and in some cases they're having to jump, and crew members are trying to like catch people as they're coming out of this thing, and then basically he has to turn and ditch this thing while he's in it into the ocean, and then get picked up, which is just, it's insane. But it's all like, they've got it all on video and stuff. But just and that led to a lot of obviously, people that we had evacuated there coming to the U.S.
right.
As we get into like our school years. Like I remember some of those students coming to school and things like that. But that's just to think that, we started talking about Vietnam back in the 60s, and we're in the mid 70s now, and
And to just
kind of get
see that, as an American citizen, opposing the war or not, that's that kind of last piece of, we got to get out of here.
Yeah.
So it's got to be very disheartening, very just for overall morale, just
Oh, absolutely.
just really painful.
We're not great. Well, nobody is. Nobody's a great loser. And,
Right.
and I think coming away with most people thinking, that was not something that the U.S. won. I think I put a lot on everyone who was involved in it.
Yeah.
So
and the soldiers
it's just
returning a lot of times were, not treated very well.
Conflicted.
And
That was an insane time. But so that was April of 75, and not much else on that year.
No.
Apparently we took a while to try to recover from that.
Yeah.
So 1976.
All right, 76. We kind of skipped to the middle of the year. That was the U.S. bicentennial was celebrated. That is one of the first things that that we've come to on this list that I remember. I remember The Spirit of 76.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I do.
So
Did you have portraits taken that year?
I'm sure we did. Like that was one of those things we went to Olin Mills.
Yes,
And
or
had,
J.C. Penney. There were a couple places.
And had pictures taken every year.
Yep.
So I'm sure we got a family photo.
I have one, and I think it's because my sister was born in November of '75, and there's a picture of us from 1976 because we have that flag in the background. It says Spirit of 76.
Yeah,
so it's
yeah.
like the bicentennial flag.
They had a stamp or
And,
whatever.
yeah, I mean, it was a big. You're right. It was
yeah.
a big deal. But dude, the outfit I'm wearing is like spot on. It's like some white.
Do you think you
shorts
can
and
find
tank
that?
top. The picture?
Yeah. If Chris
Maybe.
finds it, I'll put it in.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'll be able to find it, but if he can.
I'll take a look.
So also continuing on in 76, July 20th, Viking 1 space probe lands on Mars.
What?
So that's our first visit to the red planet.
I totally would have placed that much later.
Right.
I didn't know we'd been doing that for that long.
Yeah. So showed up on Mars, and we got our first pictures of Mars.
We had just allegedly gone to the moon a few years before.
Right. And then we were like, oh, we can go to Mars. So later, November, Jimmy Carter is elected president, November 2nd. So, he announced earlier the year prior that he was running and then ended up winning. And then November 21st, the movie Rocky opens.
Ooh. Definitely iconic.
Right. I mean, you can't talk about this era and not mention certain movies.
No.
And Rocky has to be one of them.
Just the whole, yeah. I mean, it's kind of the, part American dream, part, just, the Eye of the Tiger, man.
Right.
It's like, that was a good movie.
Yeah. Yeah. And then a little bit later, November 26th, Microsoft becomes a registered trademark. So Microsoft incorporated and became a registered trademark.
Bill G.
Yeah.
Man.
And a couple other guys, but
it's also earlier than what I thought. I really thought that was
I would have thought that'd been
same
late
early
70s, early
80s. Yeah. Oh, look at that. A little history lesson there.
Yeah. All right. I think we got time for 77.
All right.
So we'll do 77, and then we'll
Kinda
wrap
this one up.
This one
That's
up.
good. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I think 1977. A lot of people remember. I did not go see this.
Oh, I did.
But you had a few months on me. May 25th, Star Wars opened.
Now you talk about
Phenomenal.
another iconic movie.
Yeah, I remember seeing the movie poster outside the movie.
Oh, I found a
theater.
picture of the movie poster.
Did you really? You gonna put it up?
Oh yeah.
It's
I found a picture of a lot of these things that this is just going to be like one
Just
inserted
one after
picture after
another.
another. This one's going
Awesome.
to take a while to edit.
so you saw Star Wars in '77.
I saw Star Wars in 77 at the drive-in theater.
Nice.
That was when you had to pull up and they had the little speaker attached to the wire, and you would grab that thing and pull it into your car and set it in the middle of your car, and it had a little volume on it. And of course the screen was up there, and you just sat in your car, and you could go to the little concession stand and get you some popcorn or drinks or burgers or whatever, and you just walk back to your car and watch it. Now, there was a drive-in here in Middle Tennessee in Watertown, Tennessee,
Okay.
that I've been to a few times, and it's still pretty cool. I don't listen to it through the stereo.
Yeah.
You can. I always bring a separate radio because I always take my truck.
Gotcha.
And then what I do is I park backwards
Yep.
and put some like just cushions, pillows, whatever, sleeping bag in the back of the truck and sit in the bed of the truck and watch the movie, listening to it on the radio that I have in front of me, like on the tailgate. So,
Nice.
but I do remember going to see Star Wars at the drive-in theater, which just
That's
completely
What did
blew
you
me
think
away.
of it?
It completely blew me away.
Yeah.
I was just like, because, not necessarily realizing that this is make believe.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, there's really stuff like that out there. This is awesome. So, you know, I wanted to be a Jedi. I wanted to move stuff with my mind, you know.
We've all tried it.
We've all tried it.
I mean, yeah.
Haven't gotten it to work.
No.
Ever.
At all.
But
So that was in May.
Yeah.
August 4th, President Jimmy Carter announced the creation of the U.S. Department of Energy.
I put that one in because, you know, it's morphed into, I think it's called something different now, but they still govern a lot of energy production and energy usage and
All stemming from the energy crisis.
all
that
stemming from the
we've
energy
talked about.
crisis. And they made certain efficiency standards for different things. So I thought that the creation of this department had a big impact on
Wow.
the U.S. in general. So
That's insane. So this next one is, I'll be honest, the first one I vividly remember.
I remember my mom crying.
I remember my grandmother crying. Elvis died on August 16th of 1977. Also the day that my grandmother converted from a beehive hairstyle,
Yes.
you know, the kind of the high
Oh, yeah.
stuff.
The high 60s beehive.
To kind of the not so high beehive. But I remember her specifically coming back from that, and so it was impactful to me because it was like, you know, she was upset, but she also looked different, and so I'm like, what's going on? You know,
This must be a
and-
big deal.
Yeah, it's like it's just your hair; it'll grow back. I mean, or it's a wig. I think it was probably even just a wig. I'm not even really sure why you're so upset about this. And then
Right.
it's like Elvis died. I'm like, oh, I know that dude. I've
Heard that
his
name before.
Yeah.
My mom had I
Um,
had a few, but I remember one specific live album that she
Yeah.
had of Elvis that my dad would play or my parents would play at the house.
I mean, yeah, like, and you know, we're in Nashville, so everyone seemed to know someone who knew him or had
Right.
some relationship. I think
Or had some
our
you know,
connection.
had seen him, met
Yeah.
him, you know.
I know. I think my grandmother had gone to a concert of his, so she was obviously a fan. I think we had someone in the family had a close relationship with one of his assistants that was, you know, music industry here in town. But also, I was born on his birthday, January the 8th. He and I shared the same birthday, so it always kind of came around every year. I don't know. Apparently, when he came out with the song, you know, Teddy Bear,
Yeah.
somewhere there was a relationship. I ended up getting a teddy bear from him. When I say from him, I'm sure it came from, you know,
Right.
I
Somebody in
I don't know
his-
the full story. I may need to ask more about that. But apparently, I had a teddy bear from Elvis, is the way I recall the story. But anyway, so
or maybe
he,
they just told you that.
he could be. Here, this is from Elvis. Oh, this is awesome. But anyway, he died in
Yeah.
August of that year. I do vividly remember that. It's probably
I
one of the
remember that.
first
Yeah.
real solid childhood memories where, like, I remember that day. And then the day after, and kind of hearing the stories of what had happened and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's 1977. I
Yeah.
think for this episode, I think that's where we're gonna wrap it. But man, already, I mean, I think that's a cool place to stop. You know, it's
Because we're
couple
just
of
getting
vivid
to
memories,
the point to
yeah.
where we can vividly remember things.
oh yeah, it's gonna blow up from here, man.
Yeah.
But that's awesome. I hope everybody is enjoying this.
Yeah.
I think real quick before we go, a little
Oh yeah.
book of answers.
That's right.
Solution. Is it my turn to look up the answer? You
I
got
think
a-
it is your
you-
turn
you
to
got
look
a
up.
question,
Oh,
my friend?
let's see a question.
Book of answers, answers only. If you're a first time viewer,
No
back
questions
and
on.
take a
No
look.
questions. Just the answers.
just the answers.
All right. Okay. Here we go.
All right.
We mentioned this. You mentioned something about this. Secretariat. Was Secretariat essentially running clean?
Oh, okay. So, training all natural and
Training all natural.
okay. No performance enhancers. You position this right and not knock the table over. Could be tricky, right?
Yeah.
It will be a pleasure.
See,
Let's work this out. Come on.
all right. Having a
Did
tough
he
one.
run clean? It will be a pleasure.
Is that kind of like Chick-fil-A says, "My pleasure"? My pleasure. It
So-
didn't really answer my question.
Yeah, so it's a deflection.
Right.
So we can keep the conspiracy around this.
So maybe.
We're not really resolving it.
No,
but
there's no resolution.
there's still a possibility.
So sometimes the Book of Answers gives us answers that don't necessarily make sense.
Sometimes it's no help at all.
Right. but we try. We try to make it work. Do we want to do another one just to see?
No, I think we're
Okay,
good with
all right,
that.
we're good with
There's
that
a
one.
because it's like can we say the chicken place you mentioned?
Yeah.
All right. It's like that. It's my
All right.
pleasure. Okay.
All right. Well, it was
deflected
our
the
pleasure
answer.
doing this episode.
It was. I'm enjoying this series. Apparently, so that's two.
Too.
There's
I-
another one coming. I don't know how
I'm
many
gonna
more.
I'm gonna say it probably at least 2 more.
I think that'd be awesome. I really
And
It's part
depending on how much
new.
we oh yeah, remember,
it could
could be more.
keep joining us. We'll be
Yes.
entertaining. We'll try not to get too far deep on anything too controversial, but it's a great history lesson.
Yeah.
I mean, because it really is. It's the making
Well, and
of
for
our
people that aren't
generation.
Gen X, I think this will kind of help them see like, oh, these are the things that they experienced. These are the things that they lived through. Now, people in this generation now, obviously living through historical events.
Absolutely.
I've seen memes that are like, I'm tired of living through a historical event every other month. So I
Well-
get that, but that's that's not something new.
No, that's really
but-
part of life.
Right, but just so
we
that
all
you can kind of
experience it.
see the things that shaped us in our generation and how we view the world, these things have had significant impact on us and on our upbringing. So just to give you some little insight into some of that.
It's awesome.
Yep. All right. Well, we
right.
appreciate y'all joining us.
Thanks, guys.
All right. See you next
See ya.
time.